yo. Happy Memorial Day and welcome to another exciting episode of the Double D Sports Podcast, the podcast that touches on all your NFL and football news in general. We are your hosts, Damian Deshawn, D of D's Corner. Good morning and happy Memorial Day to you, bro.
Good morning, bro. Happy Memorial Day to you too.
Yes, and as we wish everyone a happy Memorial Day and a safe day today, we do not forget the reason why. So we like to just send condolences to all the families who have lost a loved one who served, whether a sailor, airman, marine, or soldier. We like to say thank you to those families and in remembrance of those who have fallen. Bro, is today is a continuation of our schedule breakdown, and we will touch on two divisions today. It's going to be interesting because we done talked offline, and we're going to start with the East, which includes my Cowboys. So this is going to get real interesting as I break down the schedule. Um, no need to waste any time. I will make sure that make sure to ask everyone to please like, share, and subscribe. Please also go over to D's Corner, D of D's Corner. He has a podcast where he gets even more in depth than we do. He touches on a little bit more angles of the NFL, a little bit more of you who follow a little bit more in depth with your camps ish information, your divisions, breakdown, a lot more of your roster stuff going on. Also, check us out on the Renegade Report. We were on there yesterday where we touched on some players that came from Florida State University, the 13 players on rosters now, rookies, and our insight on them and what we think may come. But please check out the Renegade Report. That's the Renegade Report. Bro, let's get into it. As I'm looking at their schedule. I see at least 5 or 6 teams that were playoff teams last year. I see Cleveland, Baltimore, Detroit, of course, Philly, Houston. Then you got Cincinnati, Tampa. It's a little bit of a gauntlet for where they're at, man. I'm a little
Pittsburgh was a playoff team.
yeah,
San Fran was a playoff team.
yeah. I'm actually the biggest one I'm really upset about is the San Fran because I'm like, it seems like the NFL does this to us every year and they always make us go to San Francisco. And I'm like, it's almost like, why do we always have to open up with the freaking Giants? And this is the first year we don't open up playing the
Mhm.
Giants or the Eagles. We get Cleveland, but then we got to turn around and you still send us to Detroit. I mean to San Francisco. But anyways, if we as we deep dive into it, man, it's concerning for me because Dallas is in a transition with the roster, and particularly only in the trenches, offensive line, and on the defensive side of the ball, we lose Dan Quinn, so that's already a big, uh, I think we're gonna regress a lot on defense because you're learning a new scheme, which it's the pros, the guys that pick it up or they won't pick it up. I've seen it happen in Dallas before where it just doesn't work. But the expectation is to get the scheme. But what I don't like is I was one of those fans, and I'll be honest, I was one of those fans that wanted to just clean house with the coaching staff. Period. And that was 2 years ago. I didn't understand the Mike McCarthy hire in the general. I don't understand it today. I don't understand why you hold on to him. But then I have to question, or don't have to question because I understand who our owner is. So I understand the dynamic. I don't understand where we're at running back. I did like the pickups of Guyton and BB on the offensive line. Okay, you went and you attacked the position of need where you just lost
Mhm.
your center from last year and then an all pro fringe, possibly future Hall of Famer, maybe in Tyron Smith. But besides that, I don't know what we're doing here. You got so many questions. CD Lamb is still with his situation of wanting more, contract situation season is here. So some guys may hold out, but you got those complete holdouts, those fringe holdouts where they'll show up here, but they ain't coming to this. And then you got
Mhm.
it's just a mess, man. But you go ahead and touch on it a little bit, man, with these Cowboys.
Bro, I actually so just for our viewers, normally we know in advance who we're going to shoot on or whatever.
Yeah.
But today I intentionally kept this quiet until right before we started, for the simple fact of Damian is a or I'm gonna start calling you Deshaun because that's what everybody else calls you. So Deshaun uh, he is one of those Cowboy fans that is not blinded. He's not a this is our year every year type Cowboy. He's an unbiased, realistic fan, and I want to do a deep dive game by game uh, for the whole division because, like I said, I feel like you be straight up. But so I'm gonna start off like this. Exactly what you said. You lost. You needed offensive line pieces. You went. You got offensive line pieces. The
Mm-hmm.
only issue is Guyton was a right tackle. They got
Mm-hmm.
him. They have him slated as left tackle, which is fine. Except week one, you got to go up against Miles Garrett,
I know.
and you have a situation with CD. You have a situation with Micah not being there. You have that contract. All these things are looming. On top of, to piggyback off what you said, the defensive scheme change. So you're built for that. Currently, your defensive roster is built for that Dan Quinn scheme. Mike Zimmer doesn't run that scheme. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say Mike Zimmer runs more of a man scheme.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that Trayvon Diggs is more of a zone.
Zone guy.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and like we said, it's not a knock because Richard Sherman was a beast in that same scheme.
Exactly.
We've talked before. Trayvon Diggs led the league in interceptions. He goes down the next year. Deron Bland,
And
but both
Bland.
players gave
Mm-hmm.
up. But both players gave up a lot of yards as well. I believe Diggs gave up the most yards that same year. He had the most interceptions. So
Mm-hmm.
when you consider all of that, when you consider all of that defensively, because your offense held you in games last year, but you don't have a rushing attack. Zeke is not going to be it. You're still coming in, and I believe those two offensive linemen that they drafted is where they're going to try to lean heavily on is running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your number two? You got rid of Gallup. Is Brandon Cooks really going to be your number two because you didn't feature him last year? He didn't
Yeah.
get a lot of production last year.
No.
You had the issues in Green Bay between Dak and CD. So how is that? Go ahead, bro.
No, I was just gonna add. I guess they're gonna run a lot of 12 personnel.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, and use the tight ends because you got Hendershot and what's the other guy name? They got
Ferguson.
them. Yeah, Ferguson and Hendershot or Vandersloot or whatever they call their
Yeah.
names. But I mean, they're decent tight ends. I guess that's what we're gonna do, man. I really don't understand the situation on the opposite side either with Gallup gone. Uh, Crooks, I mean, he's there, but I mean, I remember he's up there
Yeah.
in age now. He's been consistent in his career. He just seems to bounce around from
Everywhere he's
roster
gone.
to roster. Yeah, he's
Mm-hmm.
been consistent. But I get it. It's like, okay, you keep force feeding a guy that's like 5 foot something at wide
Yeah.
receiver, and it just doesn't work. But it's something I also noticed looking at the schedule, man. If you look at week one through week 8, what do you notice about those teams that we play? With what you
Playoff
just said.
teams.
Not only playoff to
Physical. Run the ball.
outside of New Orleans,
And their
but
defenses.
thank you. That's why I was defensive
Their
line.
defenses.
You gotta think of the defensive ends you
The
gotta
Saints
face
got a
against.
solid defensive front.
Exactly. You still got what Cameron Jordan there and Brees
The
Brissy.
Giants have a solid defensive front.
Yes,
Brian
with
Burns and
Brian
Kayvon
Burns and
Thibodeau,
Thibodeau
Dexter
now.
Lawrence.
Yes.
I forgot.
Baltimore,
Boy,
you got the JJ Watt in Pittsburgh, and you got Wes Hutchinson in the Lions, and you think about it. Then you come back with Bosa and them at the San Francisco. You breaking in two new offensive linemen, and that's
rookies.
what you gotta. That's what you putting rookies up against the first 8 games.
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire, and they gonna have no choice. They're gonna have to get it together. And you might as well throw them out there the first game in preseason against the Rams, but that's preseason. Some of these guys, because I know Verse still hasn't signed yet with the Rams, so we don't know how that's gonna
They'll
work. When you get,
they'll
yeah,
sign.
he'll be signed. He'll be
They'll
signed.
sign. Yeah.
But I'm just looking at preseason. You can't really take much from that as far as trying to get them in the fire against some elite level
Yeah.
defensive
Yeah.
line talent. But when week one hit, you facing, your first 8 weeks, you facing some of the best pass rushers in the game, some
Some
of the
Hall
best
of
pass
Famers.
rushers in the league. Yeah, some Hall of Famers, some All Pros. Yeah, it's going to be a gauntlet at first, and then it doesn't get necessarily get any easy because You still got Philly. Then you're coming back with Houston, who has a good defense. You still got the Giants, Bengals, Tampa Bay's defense. I mean, oh my gosh, man, I'm gonna make some Cowboys fans pretty pissed if I
That's
say
why I
what
said.
our floor and ceiling are.
That's why I said I want to literally go game by game and break this jump down. Because
That's
like I said,
fine,
for
man.
for D's corner, that's what I'm doing, bro. This is what made me
Mm,
want to pick them today. I was like,
okay.
nah, this is gonna be controversial because the Cowboys schedule for what they have, the Cowboys schedule starts off hard as hell.
Yeah. You at Cleveland.
And
And
here's the thing: not only does Cleveland have a really good defensive line, they have a top five defense. Period. Denzel
yes.
Ward can play at corner. They
Hmm.
can scheme up stuff to trap CD. CD's going to have to be the focal point. You're not going to have a rushing attack.
Yep.
So
You're gonna have to
now
use CD and Ferguson.
and here, and here's the thing. Here's something I don't know if it might be my brain because I when I deep dive. Imagine how much pressure is going to be on CD because he wants to get back. So if he ends up getting paid, 30 a year. You're now the number one guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means you're going up against the number one guy for every team in and out. But now you're almost like how Saquon was in New York. You're
Yep.
the only real offensive threat.
Mm-hmm.
So we could take you away. Cleveland has a solid secondary. The Saints
Secondary.
have a solid secondary. The Ravens have a solid
Baltimore.
secondary.
Yeah.
The Giants secondary will
The,
be young, but
yeah.
Pittsburgh has a
Pittsburgh is
solid
solid.
secondary. The Lions
Detroit's
have a
young.
solid.
Solid
San
though. Yeah.
Francisco,
Cisco solid. Yeah.
Atlanta
Yeah.
has a solid secondary.
Philadelphia, Houston.
Philadelphia,
Yeah.
Houston.
Washington is coming. Yeah. Ugh.
So Tampa Bay has a solid secondary.
I
So
mean,
that's
so
why I said I
is
want
it
to literally go game by game because I feel like I feel like when I started doing it, bro, I didn't have Dallas as a playoff team.
looking at it now, it's a possibility based off of what you see. We don't want to. I don't. I'm not one of them that just breaks down the roster and says, "Okay, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this," based off of paper. The paper
Right,
stuff.
right, right.
But when I look at you compare rosters,
Yep.
compare the roster to your schedule. What roster you have compared to the schedule you have, it makes sense. And I'm actually borrowing this saying from 36. He says this often, even when he looks at the college roster. He says,
Uh-huh.
take your roster talent and compare it against the rosters of your opponents on your
Yep.
schedule. And you're facing how many top five rosters in the league right now? Cleveland has a top five roster. Baltimore has a top five roster. Detroit has a top five roster.
Yes.
I mean,
San
let's put the
Fran,
top 10 roster, top 10 roster. San Francisco has a top 10 roster.
Philly,
Philadelphia, Houston, top 10 rosters.
Houston.
And then some even think Cincinnati's roster is a top 10 roster. I mean,
Some think Pittsburgh is.
a top, yeah. Tampa Bay's roster is at the minimum a B,
Yeah.
at the minimum a B right now.
Yeah.
And then that's your other in conference in divisional opponents like the Giants, Washington. They're coming.
They're coming.
They're coming. Their rosters are coming. They're just in transition with some
So
things, but
you got the exact schedule pulled up?
yeah, I got it
All
now.
right,
It
so
starts
let's go game by game.
Cleveland. First game at
You're playing
Cleveland.
at Cleveland.
Sunday at 3:25 p.m. at Cleveland.
I had that as an L.
That's an L. I take
I
it
had that
as an
as an
L.
L.
Yeah.
So
It's not much to say. I go through it and we already know we've already established Cleveland's defense is going to give us fits.
yes.
The next game is week 2 is the Saints at
New
home
Orleans.
against the Saints. Home opener against the Saints. It's a 12 p.m. Central Time, I believe.
Yeah,
Um, I give that a dub because they just
I do
have so
too.
much flux. It's going to be a tight game because of they still have a lot of bets on defense, but I think I give that a dub. I just don't trust New Orleans offense.
And y'all are solid
The-
at home. Y'all are always
yeah,
solid at home.
solid at home. We got the interesting one, week 3. We get Baltimore. You got a whole new defensive scheme, and you got to deal with Lamar and King Henry in week 3, and the physicality that's going to come at that game, and the history so far under McCarthy and under
Yep.
even under Quinn of not matching the physicality of certain franchises in the league, like San Francisco, that
Not being able
you
to stop the
that yeah,
run.
not being able to stop the run, all of that stuff that comes with it. This is a L, man. I mean,
That's an
we're
L
at
for me too.
home. It's an L. I think Dallas will show up. They're gonna show up. They're gonna play hard. It's gonna be competitive. It's gonna be tight, but it's like one of them games that can end up being anywhere from a field goal to 10-point, 7-point win, kind of in that range.
Bro, I think they're gonna get smoked.
You think they're gonna
Because one
smoke them?
thing, the reason I say that is based off of what Baltimore was able to do last year against teams that everyone thought they had a solid roster. They beat the
Hmm.
brakes off of San Fran. They beat the brakes off Detroit,
Yeah.
and it's going to be early on. And it's going to be early on. Lamar, this is his second season in the scheme. He
Yeah.
has the most weapons he's ever had. He has King Henry. They'll have Mitchell coming back, the speed back.
Hmm.
You have Zay, Bateman, Aguilar, Mark
Andrews.
Andrews, and Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
The defense, Baltimore's always had a solid defense. Plus, they
Hmm.
went out and got TJ Tampa and Nate Wiggins. Marlon
Yeah.
Humphreys can lock up with CD.
CD. Yeah. Man.
I don't think Dallas has enough offensive uh firepower
Weapons.
to really hang with some of these teams that have these defense. Because when we know what we know about Dak, when that pressure gets to him, he turns the ball over.
Yeah.
He will turn the
You're
ball
right.
over. I think they'll get
Uh,
smoked that game.
Okay. Well, then we follow that up, and we got to go to New York with the Giants.
I think that's a
That's a
dub.
coin flip. It's a coin flip, in my opinion. Coming, and the reason why I say that since we deep diving, coming off a game like this that could be deemed emotional, especially
Mm-hmm.
if even if whether it's a close loss or a blowout
Yeah,
loss, or even if they somehow win it, it could be a bit of an emotional high. It's going to be an emotional game there because
it's
of the
gonna be
physicality
physical.
level. Yeah,
Yeah,
physical. The physicality in that game, then you turn around and you probably gonna the Giants are gonna be a little bit physical on defense, so you're still gonna have to go up there and play a physical
yeah,
style of play. So you following behind that. So I choose that as a coin flip right now. Just coming off of, you got Cleveland, New Orleans, and Baltimore. You see what I'm saying? And
yeah.
then after, okay, so that's a coin flip. Then we go to Pittsburgh. You follow up the Giants and you gotta go to Pittsburgh. I'm like I'm worried, I'm concerned about the rookies now on that line being able to hold up. And even the vets, like Terrence Steele with an injury history, Tyler Smith.
It's
Micah
penalty
plays hard.
history.
Yeah, yeah. Micah plays contend to play. He'll play injured, but then you got to look at like Lawrence and some of these other guys. Mozzie Smith got to come. They got to get him ready this year. He got to
Yeah,
play, man. They got to figure out what to do here because the interior is not what it needs to be. And you facing some teams that's gonna want to get down and get dirty physically. I'm not really liking it the more I break it down. You go into Pittsburgh, that's another trench war game that you're gonna have to be ready to play.
and here's another thing, bro. These four teams, these first 4 or 5 teams, well, Pittsburgh being the fifth,
Hmm.
they all can stop the run.
Yeah.
You already don't have you already don't
You don't
have
have a feature running back.
a
Yeah.
featured back. You already don't have a featured back, and we've seen this. We've seen Dallas look pathetic with Zeke, especially on first down.
Hmm.
First down, after first down, if you're starting 2nd and 9, 2nd and 11, 2nd and 8, now
Hmm.
you have to pass the ball because you're not going to be able to. These are difficult teams to run against. These are difficult to even the Giants. But when you go to Pittsburgh and you have to go to Pittsburgh, these are and all these teams are going to be physical.
Mm-hmm.
Their offensive lines are going to be physical. They have a physically imposing backs. Pittsburgh has two backs. They're going
Yeah.
to, and we've seen what they do with Micah. They run at Micah. You're going to get tackles beating Micah up.
Especially if they leave him the way they've been doing.
Yeah.
Then you
So I
follow behind that too, man. I'm like, just look at that. Two backs in Pittsburgh. Then you go to Detroit. Two backs,
two
physical
backs.
offensive
Yep.
line, physical defensive lines. Want to get after the attitude of that whole team is physicality.
A
And
deep
then you get a bye,
secondary.
yeah, and you get a bye week after that just to come back and get bludgeoned again.
And
I'm like,
I think they'll lose to Detroit. You got to remember, you almost lost to Detroit last year. If Dan
yeah,
Quinn doesn't go for two, three on three separate occasions,
yeah,
like you won 21-20.
yeah. You're
And
right.
Detroit is
You talking
way
about
better.
Yeah,
Detroit is
Dan
way better
Campbell. Yeah,
defensively. I mean, Dan
yeah,
Campbell. I said Dan Quinn. Yeah.
yeah,
And then like you said,
man.
you're coming up against San Francisco in the middle of the season. They're going to be firing on all cylinders.
All right, man. As we go through this, I'm gonna just throw this out here, and I'm gonna piss off some Cowboy fans who watching this. Looking at this schedule, man, I see us as a possible lottery team. If you want to put the NBA thing in, we'd be a top draft pick
Yeah,
in a
I
year
think that I
that
think
in
they'll
a
be
year,
top 15 picks. They'll be
yeah,
picking top
top
15,
15,
maybe even
top
top 10.
15. Cowboys could be picking top 10. And the thing about it is, you picking top 10 with a situation with your quarterback in a year that the quarterback draft ain't as strong as the previous year. So
Nope.
if you're not going to re-sign Dak and Dak's going to be gone, and you choose to possibly have a tough season in which has you drafting high in a draft that doesn't have the same quarterback talent that it had the year before or the year before that. This is basically a transition, like I talked about this. We're ready to go through a transition, and
Yeah.
you may have to just decide to pick a player that isn't a quarterback, just to wait till the next year to get your franchise guy, your next
Unless he
franchise guy.
unless
Unless you,
Jerry is in love with Shador and tries to get Dion's
oh
kid.
gosh, I'm that's a whole nother
You
subject
got to
matter.
because you got to think, bro. We would be at right now. We're at week 8 with your
Yeah,
bye week at week 7. So you've only
yeah,
played 7 games, and I got them 2-5.
yeah. And then you come in right back into San Francisco and improved Atlanta. No matter what you want to
No
think,
matter
it's
what you
still going to
think.
be, yeah. It's an
Yep.
improved Atlanta. Philly,
And it's at Atlanta. And it's
yeah.
at Atlanta.
Then
So
you get
that to
Philly
me that
and
could be a
Houston,
toss up
yeah. Philly and Houston. You already know and then the Dan Quinn Bowl. I mean, Washington at Washington.
at
It's
Washington.
not going to be an easy game. I mean, we don't
No,
know what Jaden Daniels or what the team will be by that time. I'm not saying they're going to have a winning record, but I don't think it's going to be an easy
it's
dub.
still a divisional game. It's still a divisional game, and it's
Yeah,
going to be physical. Dan Quinn knows that team. Dan Quinn's coached against Mike McCarthy. He knows the
yeah,
offense. So,
yep.
and
He knows.
those are things like when that's why I want to do a deep breakdown of this and not just go, oh, win loss, win loss, win loss. I wanted to do a
Mhm.
deep breakdown because of this very reason. Like us diving shows that these games are not just because you see the star next to another
Uh-huh.
symbol that the star wins. That's not the case. You're playing at Washington. They could that defensive front, regardless of what you think, defensive front, you're not gonna be able to run the ball against. They're not gonna
Yeah.
be like the Cowboys because they already had Deron Payne and Jared Allen, and that now they added Jerzon Newton as well.
Hmm. If he's
Bobby
healthy.
Wagner's in the middle at the middle linebacker, so he's going to get
Yeah.
that front in the right calls. He
Yeah.
knows Dan Quinn's system. He's won a Super Bowl in that system.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying Washington's going to be good, but their defense is going to be better than what people think.
They're gonna be, yeah, better than what they think. They got a decent secondary. Their offense, depending on what
They
as
have
far as
skill.
they have skill position players. Yeah, that's what I was
Yes,
gonna say. You breaking in a new quarterback, but you got some veteran skill position players.
yep,
I mean, I'm having a hard time after the bye week finding a lot of dubs. I mean, Atlanta's is a coin flip.
that's how I
Most of them are
feel.
coin flips. Washington is a coin flip at that point in the season. New York, Cincinnati, maybe Carolina. At this point, Carolina could be a possible, the only one that you could say, okay, that's a dub right now.
And yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't think Carolina will beat Dallas,
Hmm.
but it is in Carolina. Carolina's
Yeah,
offensive line got better.
yeah.
Carolina's team in general has gotten better. Now you still got a rookie quarter, rookie coach. You got a young quarterback on his second offensive coordinator. So I mean, you'll have those issues, but
Hmm.
again, it's later in the season, so maybe they have all those wrinkles ironed out by then. Maybe that's one that Carolina steals. Maybe by now, and based off what we're looking at, you got to think. I think they'll lose to Cincinnati.
Hmm.
I think they'll. Washington is a toss up.
Hmm.
They'll lose to Houston. They're going to at least lose one to Philly. Atlanta's a toss up. We're going to lose to San Fran, lose to Detroit, lose to Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cleveland. That's what, 7 losses, 8 losses?
Yeah. I mean, you're playing nine playoff teams from last year. Nine.
And you're not good against them. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Let's
They
be
all of
honest.
your, because every team, it seems like every team that they put on your schedule that's not in your division is a kryptonite to you over the last 5 years. They're all physical football teams. This was a bad year for you to have to face the AFC North.
Yes. Yes. Because I'm thinking wins. If we go wins, you're at worst case you split with Detroit and Washington. So that's
Yeah.
two. Let's
I
give you
mean,
Carolina.
yeah, I'm
Give you
looking at New
Atlanta.
Orleans. Yeah, Atlanta,
And
New Orleans, Carolina.
give you New Orleans. I had
Yeah.
that's five just looking at it.
I mean, I mean, so my that's funny because what my ceiling was 10 wins for Dallas. What my floor was six.
Yeah, yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Maybe 6 wins at best. It
I don't think
depends,
they
and
get
this is
10.
not. But yeah, this is not credit. This is not counting like injury problems, stuff
Yeah,
like that. I mean, and they didn't do it. And the thing about it is, we're the outlook of this is the way it is because Dallas did jack shit in the free agent market.
yep,
They were mediocre, and they didn't go out and strike gold. Certain picks for that they made, decisions that they made in the draft. I like the drafting back and being able to fill two needs at the offensive line, but then
yeah,
they turned around and they didn't answer. You didn't draft a running back. I have a guy that I'm good close with or friends with on Twitter. He's a Cowboys fan. He was pissed they didn't take Trey Benson. I get it though, because why take the running back if you ain't got a damn offensive line? You end up running into the damn, you ain't what are we doing? So I can understand that, but they still should have attempted to draft a running back in the draft. They didn't.
or
They
trade
didn't.
for Najee Harris.
Or trade it for Najee Harris or sign kept Tony Pollard. Anything. I mean, I guess
You
they
could have done
putting all their
anything.
chips in on Dowdell and Zeke. I guess they like what I mean. Dowdell was solid, but he was solid in a complementary role to Pollard. I don't know what is the Zeke and how's this dynamic gonna work. Then you turn around and that's what you do. That's the move you do. Let's bring Zeke back. What
Right.
are we doing here? To be honest with you, this was funny because we got asked this question on the show yesterday on the Renegade Report. I think Dalvin Cook had more tread on his tires than Zeke does.
Yep.
Why not go out there and give him an
Take
opportunity
that
just to
swing.
get this,
Yep. Take that
take
swing.
that swing? To give yourself some kind of back because he would at least give you someone he has a better knack for squeezing through smaller holes than Zeke does at this point in his career.
And it gives you another weapon, another option,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
maybe him and Zeke at the very least, him and Zeke give you a veteran presence in the backfield. Zeke can be your
exactly.
goal line guy, and you can kind of try to funnel your stuff through Dalvin and Dowdell. But yeah,
Yeah,
bro, I when I was doing the roster, the the record, I think I had him at 6 wins, and I think I
6 wins.
gave them both. I gave them both the Giants, both
Yeah,
the Giants games.
yeah. I could see the ceiling for me is still I'll stick with 10, but in reality, it's possibly a 6, 7 win team. just
That
based
I
off
don't.
of what
Yeah,
you see on the schedule,
I don't think they're
possibly.
gonna have 10. I think
Yeah,
Dallas is gonna get crushed this year in the media. That
yeah. Well,
by
the
the
decision,
bye
yeah.
week, you might be Jerry Jones might be talking about firing McCarthy.
But you know what? And it won't be all on McCarthy. It's gonna be on Jerry because you did
Yeah,
nothing
it's on
but
him.
give him. It's on you. You did nothing
Yep.
in the offseason. You made no attempts to better the roster. You didn't. You just stuck all in, as they keep calling it, all in. All in on what?
Yep. Yep.
You didn't go all in certain areas. You did certain here. Like I said during the draft when we did our draft segment. Then we're gonna move on because we've been on Dallas for a
Hmm.
good minute.
Yeah, that's good.
Um,
That's good.
yeah. Um, what I said during the draft is you could kind of got a feel that you could tell who Steven drafted and who was involved with everything else.
Yeah.
Because it looks when it starts to be head scratching situations, you like that's Jerry.
Hmm.
That ain't somebody with any sense. But we're gonna transition over to the Giants, man, as we discuss the East here. Continue, we move on, and we look at what they have, and I would prefer say that the questions with them, it all comes down to their quarterback and continuity with the offensive line. I mean, it's been the same story with them now for how long? The
4 or 5
offensive line
years feel like
4 or 5 years. Now, I can't remember who is the running back replacing
Devin
Saquon.
Singletary.
Devin Singletary. Okay. Well, in today's league, I guess we look at it as
He ain't gonna be able to do nothing behind that
him
line.
being nothing about that line though. Yeah, but I think their defense is going to keep them in games.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to trust you. Basically, you're putting the weight of the offense on Daniel
Yep.
to execute. So their problem is they have a favorable. They actually have a decent schedule compared to the team we just discussed, but they still have to face the AFC North too, because this is a year that the NFC East and the AFC North play.
Yep.
So I'm going and I'm looking at their schedule, and they start off with Minnesota. Um, what do you give them? That you give them a dub
A
there?
L. A
You
L.
give them an L against Minnesota?
Minnesota's got a better roster than what people think, and Minnesota has Brian Flores. And he has edge rushers.
Yeah. So you
They're
said
not gonna.
defensive battle.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think what's gonna hold the Giants back is Daniel Jones.
Hmm.
They don't. He all he has is Malik Neighbors. Darius Slayton hasn't reported OTAs. He wants a new contract, could possibly be traded. Your offensive line was terrible, and Saquon did what Saquon can do. Devin Singletary is not Saquon.
Yeah.
Devin Singletary is not Saquon, and Daniel Jones stays hurt. He's going to end up getting hurt. And if he does, you got him or Drew Lock.
Yeah. So
Him or Drew Lock.
their team is looking for a quarterback. Then we know that
And then
they're
in
looking for a
Minnesota,
quarterback in their big draft. Yeah.
and regardless of who's the quarterback week one with Minnesota, you got
Mhm.
Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. You just have more weapons. They'll be able to get them the ball. And it might not be deep, but they can get them the ball quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
I
think
just
it's gonna
don't.
be a defensive. I think it's gonna be a defensive battle, but Daniel Jones turns the ball over.
I don't trust the trigger man in Minnesota right now. You either going with the rookie or you're going with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, but that's why I said with out of those
Yeah.
two, or out of really at those three quarterbacks, I don't trust
Hmm.
any of the three. But what I
Yeah.
know from Daniel Jones turns the ball over.
Yeah. He
He's gonna
does.
he's gonna give up a fumble. He's gonna give up a pick six. He's gonna give a fumble in their own territory that's gonna lead to 3 points. I don't think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be more of a defensive battle,
Hmm.
17-13, something like that. But
Hmm.
I see Minnesota winning that.
Okay. So a field goal game. All right.
Yeah.
So we move on to next game, week 2 at Washington. I see
What you
that
got?
I see that as an L too. I mean, since I saw Minnesota as a dub, but I see this as an L. Going to Washington, even for the very situation you just said. You think about it. Uh, I think it'll be another defensive battle. One of them
Yeah.
another field goal game. They'll probably be one of them teams that looks good. Giants seem to be one of them teams that's going to be in games and lose games by 3 points or 3 to 10 points in the
Yep.
league, which is, and then it's going to make it look like they've been very competitive, but that's not it. You're facing two. You shouldn't lose to these two teams that are in coaching transition and quarterback transition. When you bringing back a vet
Yep.
in a situation, but as you painting it, you got them losing to Minnesota. I got them losing to Washington. So at best, we're saying 1-1, and you haven't even made your pick yet with the Washington game. But yeah, I see them losing to Washington.
I think it's gonna be an L too. I think
So
I,
this is mhm.
I think it's gonna be an
So
L. I ain't even got
anywhere.
to give a big in depth dive. It's an L.
Yep. So 1-1 to 0-2 right now. Then you're at Cleveland.
Yep.
So now you're facing
L.
0-3. 0-3. You're
Yep.
sitting at 0-3. Then you're at the early draft bowl as a possible
Yeah.
early draft here. You know, at this point, what's going on? Because now they're looking at the Giants franchise, in New York. In New York, the fire's already hot now, for them. So you got two teams that's possibly facing each other. That is, the franchises are in flux. The media in those respective cities are on fire with bullets aimed at management, the coaching, all of that. So it's a shitstorm in New York and it's a shitstorm in Dallas right now. And both these teams might be vying to try to get their first win.
And I think if you look, they play the Browns on the 22nd. They play the Cowboys on the 26th. So that's a short week.
Yep. It's a Thursday
That's
night
another
game.
L in my opinion. That's another L in my opinion.
So Dallas possibly getting their first win or second win right there.
Yeah.
We transition to Seattle.
Travel out to Seattle.
Travel at Seattle. New coaching staff for Seattle.
It's
I
a
see
tough
them
place to
getting
play.
it's a tough place to play, but I still see them getting a dub here. I see them getting a dub right here, though.
I feel like this one here is kind of a toss-up game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Seattle still has a solid secondary. They still have a pretty solid defense, but they will be, like you said, in transition under a new coach, a new scheme, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But offensively, you still kind of have everyone. Geno, you still got a rushing attack and all that. But I do like the Giants' defense, their defensive additions this year. So I'll give that one to. But see, they're playing in Seattle, and that's a hard place to play.
I get it, especially if you're talking about a turnover situation.
And that's what I think the crowd plays into that. I think the crowd plays into that. So if they're gonna beat Seattle there, they're gonna have to jump on them early. I just don't see see them being capable of doing it. I don't see them being capable of doing it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get at Seattle.
Get Seattle. Next one we can go on and skip by because I got that as an L for me. I ain't even got a deep dive.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati gonna come in there and they're gonna give them problems. What about you? You got Cincinnati?
Cincinnati.
All right. Philly. At Pittsburgh. Then here comes an interesting. They come back home and they got Washington now.
Now I think I had them losing, later. So this one is either or.
Yeah,
in my book. Either way, I just got them splitting with Washington. So
splitting. That's what I'm saying. They lost to them earlier. They get Washington this week, in week 9. But then they go back on the road to Carolina, where I'm not gonna I don't want to badmouth Carolina. I just look at their roster and the transition right now, and that's the reason why I would give the Giants the edge in this game. It could be a coin flip, to be honest with you. But once again, new coaching, new transition. You still got a quarterback that and Bryce that is going into a second year, and we don't know what to expect because it was such a tough rookie year for him.
And that's an early game.
And it's an early game. Yeah, 9:30 a.m. Are they overseas or something? Because I'm trying to look at this.
It must be.
Yeah, because I'm looking. I'm trying to. It says I'm looking at the arena here. I have to see.
I think they got a. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Is that in?
Yeah, they play in Germany. They play in Germany.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I was like 9:30. I'm like, NFL don't do that unless it's overseas. So that's a night. It's basically like a night game on Sunday. That's a Sunday night game technically. Yeah. They get a bye week. The Giants get a
Yeah,
bye week after that game because, of course, they got to fly back home, stateside.
yeah.
But then they get Tampa. Say
I
hell,
got Tampa.
I
I got
yeah, I
Tampa.
got Tampa coming in there. Then they go to Dallas, and once again, as we said, Dallas at Dallas.
Yeah,
Give them an L
Dallas.
there. Yeah, New Orleans at home. What you got? I got that. I give you know what? Another toss up. That's a toss up that's
I
similar
feel
to
like yeah,
the Carolina game.
that's how I feel too. I feel like that's a toss up. I like I like New Orleans defense.
Hmm.
And if you're gonna go down the quarterback, I like Derek Carr more than I like Daniel Jones. So I
Yeah,
would give it to the Saints. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I
But I
got
feel
you.
like it's a toss up.
Yeah. Then they get Baltimore at home, bludgeoned.
Yeah.
Baltimore's going to be running full. This they should already be a playoff team by week
Balls to the
15.
wall.
Yeah, they're in full go mode. They don't go. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? They just Lamar is putting together if what has already been happening in his career, Lamar is putting together another MVP season at this point, and
Yep.
they're pretty much tearing teams up right now. At Atlanta,
I think that's a L.
Indianapolis,
I think that's a L.
yeah, and then Philly, L at
I think
Philly,
that's a L.
L. So we're looking at a situation with the Giants where we're looking. What I'm saying and what you're saying here is that this is a team that could be once again in transition, coaching transition. They probably Daniel Jones is done. They got to eat that contract or try to figure a way to cut up
Yep.
and come off of some of that money the best they can.
They got three
That dead cap,
wins.
yeah, that dead cap, and you got 3 wins to show for
Yeah.
it, and you're drafting high for a quarterback in a quarterback draft that is not as strong as the year before. I know some people are going to disagree with the prospects at quarterback this season, but I don't see this as a strong quarterback draft coming up.
I'm gonna tell you like this. For what it's worth, Dak and Jerry both have commented about if Dak was not there. Dak said he's good either way. Dak is going to get paid one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine a scenario in which the
He goes to New
Cowboys
York.
and he goes to New York? Because you got to think the one thing that Jerry kind of holds true is you play with that star on your head as a quarterback, you get all these endorsements, this and that. New York is
Mm-hmm.
a big media market. Dak
Mm-hmm.
going to New York, having a wide receiver like Malik Neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
they do have a lot invested in their offensive line, regardless of how good or bad it is. But you would have a good defense,
Mm-hmm.
So I can see a scenario in which Dak ended up in New York.
It's possible. It's possible. It's possible.
Based off, think about it like this: based off what we witnessed thus far this
Mm.
offseason, Jerry pretty much saying McCarthy and Dak are going to play out this season on their contract. We
Yeah.
had them what, maybe 6 wins. Are you giving Dak $60 million if we only got 6 wins?
No, I'm not
You see
doing
what I'm
that.
saying?
Yeah,
And you
I'm
can't
making a
trade him because he has a
transition.
no trade clause. So you
Yeah.
got to make that transition, and wherever he goes, he goes. Because it's not a solid draft, New York could bring in Dak. They could draft the best offensive lineman. They could trade one of those picks and
Yeah.
even continue to bolster around Dak in this scenario.
It's nasty work, man.
So let's move
Nasty
on to
work.
Philly.
Philly,
Philly up
Philly,
next, right?
Philly, Philly. Philly is up next, brother. And we're gonna go right into their schedule. They open up with Green Bay in
Green Bay
Brazil. In Brazil.
in Brazil.
Yes, the guy I just looked at it. They got to go.
Mm,
The NFL is expanding. Trying to
yeah,
continue to build the global in Sao Paulo, Brazil. 8:15 p.m. It's going to be on a Friday on Peacock. So it's a very long trip. You're going down south. Uh, Different environment, easy
different
distractions,
environment. A lot of them.
and yeah, easy distraction. A lot of distractions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I always tell my wife that's one place I always wanted to go, boy.
Hell with the Dominican.
I can't because I seen an adult film when I was when I was younger about Brazil. And ever since then, boy, I said, "Ooh, I want to go. I want to go." Ooh,
But yeah,
takes me
man.
back.
This is a very interesting matchup, man, because you
Yeah,
got two playoff teams here. Um, I think this is gonna be fireworks. To be
I do
honest with
too.
you, this is gonna be an
I do too.
explosive football game. You're gonna see some points put up on the board here.
Yeah,
Both teams. The interesting part to watch is it comes down to the maturation of both quarterbacks for that game.
yep,
Love
yep.
and Hurts. Love in his second year starting, then you got Hurts in his third
Mhm.
year. Um, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna come down to what they do. Which quarterback breaks out of the shows the ability to be more than just managing the system. Uh, it's I give Green. You know why I'm gonna give Green Bay the edge, and it has nothing to do with no hatred, anything towards the Eagles. I'm giving Green Bay the edge because of the Eagles in transition on defense. You're
And on
transitioning to a
offense.
different and on offense. You're right. And this is the first game. So you're trying to work in 3 games from preseason, and then your first game is Green Bay, a team that is out
Out
with
the
a
country.
creative, yep, out of the country with a creative offensive philosophy. They can be
Yep.
very creative on offense. They're going in transition in their backfield, but I think they actually got better. Jacobs should be healthy here. You changing out Jones and you add Jacobs in there. You still got Dylan, so this is a team that can be physical or finesse. So they
Yep.
offer a little bit of Green Bay brings a little bit of everything to the table. They can finesse you, beat you with finesse, or they can beat you physically. I look at this right now with the Eagles. I'll take that as an L. I say the Eagles lose that first game.
This first game is going to show. I think offensively they're going to have a adjusted an
Mm-hmm.
adjustment period. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Kellen Moore, he likes to try to put up points. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see if he does a lot trying to impress AJ Brown,
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Smith. Like you have a lot of mouths to feed.
Yep.
You have a lot of mouths to feed. So defensively, I think they're going to try to come and be physical. Chauncey Gardner Johnson's always been one of my favorite players. I even liked him when he was in college just because of his attitude. I've always
Mm-hmm.
liked the dude's attitude. He'll fight you on the field. That's how I've always enjoyed that. But I give the nod to Green Bay too. Week one, I give the
Mm-hmm.
nod.
Then we come back. They come back home.
Got the 10
10
day
days
break.
late. Yeah, 10 day break. It's a Monday nighter, and it's in Atlanta. I think they get the dub here in Atlanta because it's at home,
I
home
do too.
opener. They get the dub
I do
right
too.
there. We transition to Sunday on at New Orleans. I still give them a dub.
Yep.
I give them a dub there. So they bounce back from that Green Bay loss to a dub, in my opinion. What about Tampa Bay? At Tampa Bay. Interesting.
Now that they played them twice last year, they beat them in the season, and they put them out in
Mm-hmm.
the playoffs. I was about to say
Playoffs.
preseason. They the
Yeah.
playoffs, but I like Philly. I like Philly. When the Bucks played the Lions, where CJ was playing, they were talking about Baker, and Baker likes to get lippy, and he threw a
Mm-hmm.
pick to him. He
Yeah.
threw a pick to him. So I think that'll be a game where CJ will talk trash, and I think
Get in his head.
they'll get in Baker's head, and he'll throw a turnover. He'll throw a pick or two.
Okay. All right, so we move, and now we at week 5, which is a bye week. So they get rest. They get rest before getting a home game against Cleveland, which will be another very interesting barn burner. But I don't think it's
Physical
going to be a lot
game.
of point physical game. Now, I don't think it's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I think you probably looking at a total of maybe 30-35 points total in the game. This could be a field goal to maybe 6 point kind of game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
When we start looking at the point spreads and all of that, which I don't necessarily do all of that, but give or take, I got them possibly losing this game to Cleveland though. Close, very tight, but
I had the
losing.
same. I
Yeah,
had the same.
very tight, but by back a field goal, something like that.
I like Cleveland's defense and the
Yeah,
continuity. They got
yeah,
everyone back that they already had, so they're not
hmm
really breaking in very many new players. So
yeah. That's my point. Um, They go on the road to the Giants. They get that dub.
Yep.
They get that dub. I got them getting a dub here the next game at
So do
Cincinnati. I
I.
think they get the dub.
So do
Yeah,
I.
I got them getting a dub there.
Yep.
Jacksonville is going to be interesting, man. It's a Sunday night game, but it's at home.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, I see it tight. I still see them getting a dub, but I see it being a tight game. Uh,
I think Trevor Lawrence. They'll get Trevor Lawrence.
Rattled a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Trevor probably turns the ball over late in the game. That kind of
Yep.
gives Philly that seal the game kind of moment, or get the ball back, drive, kick the field goal to win it kind of situation with Jacksonville.
Yeah.
At Dallas, they get that dub. I think they get the dub here at that point.
I do too.
Washington Commanders, ooh, dub. They're at home.
4 days. 4 days
Yeah,
later, though.
yeah. 4 days later,
4 days
the
later.
turnaround, the turnaround. I still think they get it.
I do too. I do too. I
I
think
still think they get it.
Washington's not gonna have enough offensively.
Yeah, not enough offense. Now here's where it gets tricky because
Yeah.
the Sunday because you just had a short week. You come around, turn around, and you just had that. The interesting game here is the Rams. This is where I think they could get got at LA. This is a possibility
It's
because you
10
could be
days.
caught 10 days, and then you look who they following up after the Rams. You see what I'm saying?
Oh
It's
yeah.
easy to get caught in the trap.
Trap game. Yeah.
Yeah, get caught in a trap with a team that you may not think is a little bit underrated.
Yeah.
It could be a little bit
Yeah.
underrated.
Yeah. I can see that.
But
I can see that.
yeah, it's for me. I got them taking the L there, and then they following it up with the dang. They got this some marquee games, man. The Eagles got
Yes.
woo. That Cleveland, that Green Bay, and that Baltimore gonna be
And they
well,
play
must watch.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, must watch. But yeah, the Rams is gonna be interesting. But yeah, going on to Baltimore, I think they follow up after beating Washington. I think they lose back to back
I think
weeks.
I think they're gonna get one of those games. They're gonna lose one and they're gonna get one.
Okay,
I
interesting.
just and I think they'll lose to Baltimore at
You think
Baltimore.
of it?
Well, they gotta
Mm-hmm.
travel both those games too.
Yep, both those games. That's why I said you got to go out west and you got to turn around the
Then turn
following
around,
week and
come
go
back.
East Coast.
Yeah,
Yep, back to
I can see him. I can see him dropping both. I can see him
yeah,
dropping both.
yeah. That's why I was
The,
saying majority of the L's on their schedule are going to come right here. I don't see
yeah,
them losing a lot of games, but yeah, I think this is
they'll
probably a
beat
3-loss
Carolina.
team. Yeah, they're going to beat Carolina. They're at home against Pittsburgh. I give them the edge there.
I do too.
I do. I give them the edge there. So I got them winning that game. I got them
So,
winning at Washington. What you got? You got them winning too?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Dallas. Because the history of always flipping back and forth, and when we expect the Eagles to beat Dallas, they lose, and when we expect the Dallas to, it's been that way.
Yeah,
Dallas was able to sneak one from them. They beat them last year at home. Dallas beat them at home, but Dallas actually should have beaten them last year in Philly if it wasn't for the way the game ended. It was just a lot of McCarthyism. Let's put it that way. It was a lot of
right.
dunderhead time management and stuff like that that just really sucked. But I got them actually. They're gonna lose one of the Dallas games. I picked them to beat Dallas on the road, going on the road and winning in Dallas, and then Dallas returns the favor here.
And they'll be 11 game. They'll be 11 win team based off what we're
Mhm.
looking at.
Yeah,
11 or 12 wins, depending on which one of us is
exactly,
picking. So
exactly.
this could be a mean nothing game. These last
Yep,
two games could really mean nothing.
mean nothing, and they're gonna
So
win at least one of the two.
yeah, so
That's why I see them.
they can rest their starters in one of the
Yep,
games. They'll still be able to
yep.
because of the depth that they have on their team. So we're looking at a 12, 13 wins right here.
Yeah, unless they're trying to lock up home field.
That's the
That's the
only
only
thing.
reason I
Yep,
can
that's
see
the
that they're
only thing.
playing all the way out. Yeah. So that's what I look at with them, man. So we're transitioning and we then went from Philly and we move and we close with Washington here.
Washington.
Um yeah, they're interesting marquee matchups as the Bears, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. So and then when we get into the meat of their schedule here, you open up your regular season with Tampa Bay on the
Tampa
road.
Bay.
Um,
Tampa Bay.
I got Tampa too. Just trying to, that's Daniel's first game. If he's the starter, Justin. New York Giants at home. I have Washington winning this one because I think I had
I
Washington
do.
winning this one before. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got Washington getting this one. At
I do too.
Cincinnati, interesting. At
I think
Cincinnati, what you got?
I think Cincinnati will get them.
They
That'll
see,
still
yeah,
be early. It'll still be early on for them. That'll be
yeah,
Cincinnati's.
yeah. Adjustment, still
Yeah,
adjusting the offense and defensive schemes. Yeah. At Arizona,
I don't think Arizona has enough yet.
you know, they so you think they get Arizona there?
I think they get
Okay.
Arizona
Then here's where we look at the next 2 weeks. Washington's losing. Cleveland
losing.
and at home against Cleveland and on the road against Baltimore. No need to deep dive. I think they possibly could get a win here. This is a coin toss for me
I'm about to
with
say I think the
Carolina.
same thing. I
Yeah,
think Carolina could get it because you got
yeah.
to think now by week 7, you're gonna
Mhm.
have Leggett going, you're gonna have Sanders going, and
Yep.
Brooks should be healthy, and he should be starting to get going too.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, their next 4 games are actually 3 games with Carolina, Chicago, and New York. All coin tosses.
Yep,
All coin tosses. There's no guarantee L's right now. I see there.
I can see
Because you're
Chicago winning.
I can see Chicago winning the game. I can
Yep,
see New York winning that game. We can see
yep.
Carolina. Only L I see right now that I know I would pencil in for Washington is at home, but it's Pittsburgh. Playing Pittsburgh at home.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I give Pittsburgh the
Then
edge there.
I
Yeah.
got them losing to Philly and
Yep.
Dallas.
Yep. Philly and Dallas. I think they get Tennessee.
I think they would get Tennessee as well. I think
They
Tennessee.
get it.
Well, Tennessee has a better team than people want to give credit for too, weapon wise
hmm
and whatnot. But I still think that'll be Dan Quinn's game to affect Will Levis.
Yeah, exactly. Then they get a bye week. The system should be already the install and all that, they should be
Yeah,
more comfortable. We might be seeing Daniel start to get a lot more comfortable with what he's doing. They come back on the road against New Orleans. Field goal game.
Dan,
I give them that game by field goal.
from that game, Daniel's going back to Louisiana where he played at
Yeah.
LSU.
Yeah. Yeah. He's gonna bring eyes. Then they turn around and lose to
Mhm.
Philly.
Lose to Philly. I
Lose to
think they lose
Philly.
to Atlanta
Atlanta. Uh-huh. And then they at Dallas on the
and lose
road.
to Dallas.
Lose to Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I mean,
not
most
very many wins there, but
no.
I think for I don't have high expectations for the Commanders, but I do think that they're going to be building. So I think that's why it's going to be tough for Dallas. And Dallas put
Mhm.
themselves in a tough situation. Jerry put himself in a tough situation.
Yeah, he did.
So unless
He
Trey
did.
Lance is going to be their guy,
Oh
unless Trey Lance
gosh.
is going to be their guy,
And then you ask your questions. What was that trade for? Why
right?
trade? And you gave up a what? They end up getting it back, but they had to make a trade to get it back in this draft.
To get it
But
back. Yep.
you gave up a what? A 4th round pick in this
hmm
past draft for Trey Lance. And if are you trying to build around this guy? I don't know. I really
Unless they go Cooper Rush, because I mean,
don't. Everybody he trying to find that
so
Tony Romo gold again, I guess. I don't know, man.
so
Um, but as we continue to move on, we could we're gonna discuss the North, or we're gonna end up shooting another one here.
however you
Um,
want to do it.
yeah, what we'll do is we'll stop, take a quick break. So that's what we'll
All
do.
right.
But we'd like to thank everybody for watching this episode where we touched on the NFC East. Please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to continue to tap in because we're going to be dropping the NFC North also, where we go a deep dive into the toughest division in football. This one is where we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of things. We're going to really touch on some things because this is going to be a lot of the most exciting football going to be played here. Once again,
Absolutely.
make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Tune in to D's Corner where he gets even more in depth. We like to thank everyone and we say peace out, and happy Memorial Day.